In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the meanings, according to my interpretation, of the major Arcana cards of the tarot deck. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and hello if you're new, make sure that you subscribe so you never miss out on full moon videos, new moon videos, pick a card readings, spells and rituals, all kind of good self-help and self-development and magic. What I want to talk about today is the major Arcana cards of the tarot deck. And according to everything that I have read and studied, I want to share with you what are my meanings, what I have come up with, what I read for my clients, and I just want to share that with you. A lot of you have been asking me, and I am coming up with something exciting very, very soon. It is in the works for the tarot community. But with that being said, I want to share with you my interpretation of the major Arcana cards, and here we go. Okay, the first card we're going to start off with is the Fool. Let's talk about the Fool. When he shows up, she shows up, they show up, it's a sign of a new beginning, okay? This is innocence. This is something new. It could be a new job. It could be a new relationship, a new lifestyle, new house, new mentality, a shift in your mentality. It's something definitely very different than what you are used to. One thing you should know is to always pay attention to where the Fool is going or where they're facing, because they're headed that way. So here I have two different decks that I'm going to be sharing all the cards with you guys from these two decks. First one being the Mermaid Oracle, no, the Mermaid Tarot. I think that's what it's called, but I will leave these in the description down below because I don't remember the names, but I'll definitely leave the link down below. And then this one is a Santa Muerte. The reason I chose this one is because my spirit family especially is from the ocean, and I really resonate with this deck a lot, and this is everything to do with the ocean and the sea and all of that stuff. So the symbolism and everything is something I am very familiar with and that I resonate with, and that it's just very familiar. And then the Santa Muerte deck is something that ever since I've had this in my possession, this is one deck that I only reach for when I want the blatant honest truth. She is very honest and she's very straightforward, and she will tell you what it is like it is. And sometimes, when you're reading for yourself, it's hard to understand because sometimes she could come across as a little bit harsh, but it is because she's such a motherly energy. She's so protective. She's so fierce and loving. But this deck has helped me the most out of all of my decks that I own when it comes to tarot decks. So I'll leave these two down below, but these are the ones that I'm going to be referring to. These are the ones that I'm going to be using as reference. So we're going to start off with the Fool. Now this is an air sign card, so it has to do with thinking and the air element, all about taking a risk. And when the Fool comes up, it's talking about that you're ready to take this risk. It's a free spirit. It's starting something exciting. It's a new adventure, and it's being very spontaneous. The second card that we're going to talk about is the Magician. Now, when the Magician comes up, this is talking about you having all the resources that you need. It's just maybe you're not seeing it, or you need to pull it out of thin air. Use the four elements: water, earth, fire, and air. Use the four elements, use the resources to your advantage. And this is what the Magician comes to tell you, that you are an alchemist. You have what you need. You just need to find it, gather your tools, and use your experience, use alchemy, and get what you want. You're the Magician, and it's time for you to use your magician energy that has been instilled within you since birth. Everybody has it. It's just, we're not taught to use it. And when the magician comes up, it's just telling you, look, it's time for you to pull these things out. Pull out your tools. Pull out your power. Pull out your power. And that's what the magician comes to tell you. Now, another thing is that if you guys are spiritual workers or you practice spells and rituals, manifestation, then when the magician card pops up, then the magician is almost screaming at you. It's almost like your own spirit, the magician inside of your spirit comes to tell you, like, look, we can do this, but we really need you to step it up and start using everything that we have, the resources, the tools, nature, whatever, candles, spells, fire element, water element, whatever the heck you need to use. Let's use it and get what we want. And that's the magician. You're an alchemist and you can do this, and you can conjure, and you can use spells and rituals in your mind. You can use manifestation. There's so many things you could do. And the magician wants you to unveil this to yourself. Next up, we have the high priestess. High priestess is a very spiritual and celestial, very ethereal, feminine energy. This signifies a lot of hidden riches that lie within ourself, and it lies within our unconscious, within our emotions, just these treasures, these gems that we don't even know that we have, that lie just beneath our pain and our wounds. The high priestess is also unseen potential that needs to be revealed. It needs to come out. The high priestess also is very divine knowledge, spiritual enlightenment. It's very heightened intuition. Okay, so your intuition is going to be screaming. Once this card starts popping up in your readings, your intuition is going to be very, very strong. Something within you is talking to you, screaming at you. And this card will keep popping up to tell you you need to listen. This is deep beneath our subconscious. And it comes up in a way to tell you that, whatever the situation is, it's not a time to destroy. It's a time to create. So always keep that in mind, that when the high priestess comes up, this is a moment for us to nurture something with our knowledge and our spirituality and our wisdom, everything in our mind and logically. But it's not the time to destroy something. It's the time to create something with all of that knowledge, whatever the situation may be. Realize and understand whatever you need to create out of it, because this is a situation that needs something to be created. So that is kind of everything that goes in with the high priestess. This is also talking about the moon. We have the full moon right there, and it's just your subconscious, everything that lays beneath the surface. So keep that in mind when the high priestess comes up. It's such a special message and special energy when she shows up. The hierophant is the next card that we're going to be talking about. So the hierophant is our celestial father. It's a high priest. So it's counter to the high priestess. This is talking about a lot of the masculine energy, but like the spiritual side of the masculine. So when this card pops up, it's a lot of you that may be studying about your own faith, exploring your spiritual side, testing out what you believe in. A lot of you want to find your own personal truth. This has a lot to do with studying and discipline. A lot of energy of the traditional path. Religion, following values that are passed down from your family. This is also a very Taurus energy. This is a Taurus card. And the Hierophant has a lot to do with traditional banks, marriage certification, marriages, legal marriage, and everything to do with like ceremonies, religious ceremony, the ceremony of marriage, the ceremonies that come after the birth of a child in so many cultures. So the Hierophant has a lot to do with things like that and energies like that. It's also, look, if you're studying for something, you know, that has to do with money, if you're studying for something or trying to attract a proposal, if you're trying to attract a marriage proposal, you could use these cards, which I have those videos coming up very, very soon. I'm so excited. Just hold off a little bit and I'll explain all of those things when the videos come out, but I'm so excited. You can use Hierophant card to attract marriage, but we'll get into that in the future videos. So Hierophant also connects as above and so below. So it connects the spiritual realm with our physical realm. And yeah, that is the Hierophant. Let's move on to the next card. Next up, we have the Emperor. So when the Emperor comes up in a reading, this is a being that has a lot of status and a lot of authority, a lot of power. They're ready to take action anytime they need to. They're not afraid to take action, and they have a lot of influence. They demand a lot of respect and obedience as well. They're just a person very high power. And not only that, but you know, within their power, they're also a person that is capable of compassion, kindness. This is a masculine figure that is able to handle and maintain their materialistic life while also being humble and compassionate. This is a leader. This is a very solid and stable influence. This is a person that is protective of what they have. They are very strict. It's not that they're stubborn, it's that from their experience, they know what is right and they're not, afraid to practice that because they know, they've been through it. The Emperor takes control of their life through action. They don't sit back and wait for anything. They're very strong, and this is a very strong Aries energy. So this is the Aries card, and the Emperor will always follow. Next up, we have the Empress. Now, when the Empress shows up, this is all about fertility. This is the mother energy. This is the energy of nature. This is all about healing naturally. So using nature to heal. Herbs, the ocean, forests, trees, plants, plant medicine. The Empress is such a natural feminine energy, and it brings abundance, just like nature. A plant brings an abundance of fruit or leaves or whatever it brings. It just brings an abundance of it. And that's what the Empress signifies. The Empress also signifies sensuality. So when this card shows up, it may be showing that somebody needs to tap into their more sensual side, their more feminine side, that more motherly, nurturing side of themselves. The Empress also, it's talking about, Venus energy, of course. The Empress is all about Venus energy. It's also about fulfilling your potential. So imagine a seed. The Empress wants that seed to grow to its fullest potential. So every time the Empress pops up, it's what that universe is telling you. It's what the cards are telling you, that they want you to reach your fullest potential. They want you to grow naturally. They want you to be productive naturally. They also want you to let yourself know that it's okay to let things go in cycles. Think of a garden, plants grow, they die, they give seeds, they dry up, and then they provide nutrients, they reseed. There's so many phases and cycles to a plant. So The Empress comes to teach you that there's so many phases and cycles and rebirth and death, but death doesn't mean that it's the end, it's regrowth. It's just so much of that energy that the Empress wants to teach. The Empress also wants to tell you that, you know, there's happy, stable relationships here in the picture, and you need to grow that and nurture that. Remember that there's rhythms and cycles to everything, and keep that in mind to whatever situation that you're going through. And it's just a very nurturing energy and a very nurturing card. So that is what the Empress brings. Next up, we have the Lovers. So this card, when it pops up, everybody's heart kind of starts skipping a little bit faster, right? It's a very good card, very good energy. But it also asks you to make a choice. A lot of the times when this card pops up, it's about making a choice. A lot of the times it could be a romantic choice, could be a choice in business, a choice, but a lot of decisions, energy when it comes to the Lovers card. But with that being said, of course, this is the most romantic card of the deck. It has to do with lovers, twin flames, soulmates, you know, all of that good romantic stuff. But it also has to do with self-love, you guys, and unity and partnerships and romance and sexual energy. And it's also the Gemini card. And the Lovers also brings change. But it only brings change if you can make that decision or that choice that needs to be made. The Lovers also brings, you know, good messages, good energy, good omens when it comes to love. If you're looking for love and this card pops up, perfect. It's a very good sign. And if you are looking for guidance when it comes to your own relationship and this card pops up, then shuffle again. And the next card that pops up will tell you, and it will clarify what needs to happen or what's going on, and what direction things are headed in, you know? So the Lovers card gives you a lot of insight when it comes to your love life. And the best thing that I know is as soon as the Lovers card pops up, you pop another card right after and it will clarify. But, you know, another thing is if you are struggling to make a choice and you're shuffling and the Lovers card comes up, pop another card right after, shuffle again, or whatever comes right after. It's steering you into the direction of the choice that you need to make. And you, at that point, you really need to listen to your own intuition and, you know, really discern the rest of the world and see what the cards are telling you specifically, and only you would know that. So Lovers is very intimate, extremely intimate. And the reason I love these two right here, this is so romantic, so beautiful, because in a union, you know, it's always good to work together to make one thing work. So, you know, one person can handle one responsibility and the other person can handle another responsibility, and you make it work. And then here, before we could even do this, we have, you know, our self-love, and we need to handle that before we can head over to this area over here, right? So that is my interpretation of the Lovers cards. The Emperor will always follow the self rather than everyone else or society or what they've been taught. The Emperor rules their own empire, and I think it's such a strong message of the Emperor, you know, helps the hierophant rule, because the hierophant likes structure and the Emperor brings the strength that it needs for the hierophant to carry on that structure and to keep it strong and to keep that foundation strong and steady and, you know, not to crumble. That's so interesting, right? So that is what the Emperor brings. Next up, we have the Chariot card. So when the Chariot card comes up, This tells me that maybe it's like something is on the verge of some really fast movement, but you're tiptoeing, you're standing on the edge, you're not making the choice yet. And all that this whole situation needs is that last ingredient is your will, your energy to push something in either or direction. And that means if you want to go this way, then all the energy is just waiting for you to say it. If you want to go that way, then all the energy is waiting for you to say it. All this energy is festering and waiting for guidance of where to go, and you're just standing there dibble dabbling or stuck or not taking the first steps that you need to. And that's what the chariot comes to say. This is all about making decisions, taking action, and your focus, your determination, and moving through stagnancy, moving through delays, moving through very stuck energies. That's when the chariot pops up, is to tell you that these are the energies that you are in right now, probably. The chariot is kind of also, it tells you that you're being pulled in different directions and that there's this need to be free. But you also want to be comfortable, even within your freedom. The chariot also asks you to speak up. This is the Cancer card of the zodiac. So the zodiac sign of Cancer is the chariot card. When the chariot card pops up, this also foretells of progress. So there's going to be progress that you're going to be seeing in a specific direction of your life. And the chariot also pops up, especially when it comes to relationship issues, to tell you to maintain your independence in your relationship. So these are the messages that the chariot brings up, at least in my experience reading tarot. The next card is the Strength card. So for anybody that works with Durga energy, the goddess Durga, this card really reminds me of her. And in my experience working with tarot, every time this card pops up, it's just her presence in my life and in my readings specifically. But to each their own. Like, you can tap into so many different energies with so many of these cards. But I wanted to share that. So Strength is a very special card because it's talking about taming your shadow self. It's talking about taming your inner demons. It's your animalistic instincts, your natural instincts. It's talking about controlling your anger and taming your demons and really harnessing your self-confidence, mastering yourself, harnessing your courage, strength, and your independence. And it's just a very empowering card. If you can see here, and a lot of the cards depicted in tarot, it's a feminine figure that is like taming a lion or a tiger or a bear or a very big animal. In this case, it's the whale. And then here we have, I think it's a lizard, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's just talking about really taming that side of yourself that is your ego, basically, and just kind of pulls you in the direction where, pulls you into the lower frequency. And Strength card, every time that it pops up in a reading, it's kind of telling you that there's going to be a moment coming that you're going to really tap into your own strength, and it's like you tame your demons and you calm your shadows and you calm your anger. You have self-control, you have self-discipline, but you still come out on top. And a lot of the time, sometimes we think that, when we give in to these emotions like anger and when we lose control, those are some of the times in our head we perceive that we have the most control. Isn't it weird, right? But the Strength card comes to teach you the discipline, structure, self-control, self-mastery, these things. bring you more control. And this is the Leo card of the zodiac. And when the Strength card comes up, this is a sign that a lot of you are not going to be afraid to go after what you want. So that is kind of what comes with the Strength card. Next up, we have the Hermit. Now, the Hermit is all about the self. It's going inward. It's seeing your inner light. It's getting to know yourself, your own inner voice, your inner values, your boundaries, like everything to do with the self is what the Hermit is all about. Self-discovery, it's reflection, it's kind of taking time out to reflect on yourself and your thoughts and what's going on in your head. This is also the Virgo card of the tarot, so the zodiac sign Virgo. It's the Hermit card. The Hermit also brings age and maturity, so it's a mature energy. It brings wisdom and experience. And the Hermit, when it pops up, it's telling you that you're gonna see where you're going. The Hermit comes to show you where you're going. Maybe you've had confusion, of where you're going. And the Hermit is always concerned with their own progress. They kind of have come to a point in their life where they don't have the energy or the time or the strength or the willpower to focus on anybody else's progress but their own. And this is a time of transformation, of inner transformation, shedding a lot of the old. And it's a time to withdraw and get away from the busy world and just enter a very quiet and solitude moment for yourself. The Hermit wants you to free your mind, to clear your mind, to be patient and to accept and to work things out, but quietly in the contemplation of your own mind, because that's where your power is when the Hermit comes up. Okay? So answers come from within when the Hermit comes up. Shadow work starts to happen when the Hermit comes up, or maybe shadow work is needed when the Hermit comes up. When the Hermit starts to come up in readings, I always say light. Lots of light. Have light everywhere in your house. Add more light to outside your house. Candles. Add more light into your life. So yeah, that is my interpretation of the Hermit card of the tarot. Next up is the Wheel of Fortune card. So when the Wheel of Fortune card pops up, this is a very, very good sign. It's a very good omen. And it talks about how things are about to start turning in your favor. Very positive changes coming up. Very positive changes coming up. A turning point coming up. Good luck coming. Good fortune coming. And something that the Wheel of Fortune, when it comes up, it wants you to know that the wheels are always turning. Energy is always moving. And the life is comprised of so many different cycles. And it's just a constant bunch of cycles. So isn't it funny that sometimes if we believe that we are the co-creators of our life and that we do have this energy of being able to direct energy with our thoughts, how funny that we can really steer the wheel in our own favor. And the Wheel of Fortune comes to kind of give you a little bit of that nudge. There's more to yourself. There's more to our self than we know. And the wheel kind of comes to nudge you in that direction. That there's so many different cycles of life. There's so many different cycles of stability, and then there's cycles of change. And this card asks you to follow your own truth, because you always want your wheels and your energy and your momentum turning in the favor of your own truth. You don't want it turning in the favor of someone else or in the favor of someone else's truth. So steer it your own way. And this is when this card comes up, it kind of redirects you into that energy. And a lot, you know, sometimes when this card comes up, it's talking about somebody may have a fear of taking responsibility. You know, they may be presented with choices and responsibilities, new chapters, important decisions, and they kind of are afraid to make the choice. And the Wheel of Fortune comes to tell you, like, hey, it's okay. You got to make the choice, like, really, really quick. Jupiter is the planet that governs this card. And this card is also a really good card to carry with you if you go gambling, which we're going to get into in a video very soon. So keep that in mind and hit your notification bell because we have that video coming up very, very soon. Next card we're going to talk about is Justice. So this is the Libra card. If you are a Libra, then this is the card in the tarot deck that has to do with your sign. Justice card is all about truth. The truth coming out, the truth needing to be found out, the truth needing to be seen. It's just everything to do with the truth and being fair. It's also about law, legal matters, legal contracts. The Justice card comes to tell you to think very carefully about the outcome of your decisions. You know, everything that you do and say and think and every action has, you create a momentum, you know, you create an energy that is going to be carried forward even after your action is done. And the Justice card comes to just tell you, hey, let's keep that in mind. Justice wants you to have balance in your life. And this is the card for Libra. It's the card for the air element. So, you know, use the power of your intellect, the power of your mind, make decisions with your head, fight your battles using your head, use your brain, make impersonal decisions right now. When this card comes up, it's kind of, let's discern and detach emotionally a little bit and think logically and with our mind. That's when the Justice card comes up, and it just it's a need for your mind to be a little bit more balanced. Use reason and thought to override such high emotion. Justice also brings closure for a lot of readings. It asks for, you know, making peace, and it asks to, you know, ask the client or whoever you're reading for, even for yourself, are things fair? Are they going well? Are they balanced? Libra energy, are things balanced right now? Are you giving too much? Are you sacrificing too much? Are you saying too much? Are you giving away too much? Are you hoarding? You know, it's just, there needs to be balance in everything. Sometimes we can get into too extreme of one side, and we just kind of need to balance. And that's where Justice comes through. So that is my interpretation of Justice. Next up, we have the Hanged Man. Now, the Hanged Man, whenever this comes up in a reading, it's actually a message for you or whoever you're reading for to take a break. Calm down. Clear your head. Pause. Take a step back. There needs to be a change and a shift in the perspective here. There needs to be like just a little break, okay? The way you look at something needs to change, and it's basically the Hanged Man comes where some of you may need a vacation. Some of you may need to get away. A lot of you maybe reached a point where the knowledge that lies within you it's the truth and it's the path that you should be headed on, but because you won't allow yourself to take that pause and break, it's like you won't move forward on that path. And it's a big message of the Hanged Man. It's also to face your unconscious and your subconscious and go a little bit deeper, because there's a turning point that is happening in the psyche. The Hanged Man also comes to tell you that whatever situation is going on, it is your choice, and that your choice cannot be made by others. It could be influenced by others and stuff, but ultimately this has to be your choice, and that's why you need to take a little step back so that you can make the best choice for yourself. The Hanged Man is calling for a time of greater understanding of a situation or whatever it is that you're going through. It's a calling to detach from drama. Yeah, so that is kind of what's going on when the Hanged Man pops up in a reading. Next up, we have Death. Now, this card is something that scares a lot of people. But when it comes up in readings for me, I think it's one of the best messages and like the best luck. And here's why. Because it's the ending of an old cycle that needs to go. And when the Death card comes up, it's gonna go. We have here the Death card in the Santa Muerte deck is actually her. She is Holy Death. So of course that makes sense. But here you see that she's pregnant. And so Death will only come if there is something new waiting. And that is what I interpret every Death card as. Nothing will end unless the spirit world has something waiting for you. And that's why I love the Death card, because it doesn't mean that something's going to just abruptly just end and then nothing will come of it. There's something waiting, and that's why something needs to end. Because its time is done and there's newness coming in that maybe you're not allowing due to whatever reason, and that's why Death comes up. This doesn't mean literal death. I mean, sometimes it could, but most of the time it's just a lot of people have a lot of hard times letting go of something. Death also shows up because mourning and grieving, they have to be experienced after a death. So that could be a message that shows up, and grieving and mourning and all of those things have to be felt. Whether it was a death or a relationship or a job you lost or a house you lost, whatever it was. Death brings change. It brings the end of the old and birth of new, like we have right here. And also another neat little trick is that whatever card is next to the Death card, or if you pull another card right after you get the Death card, sometimes it will tell you what is ending. Whatever card comes up is whatever, needs to end. Death is also the Scorpio card. So if your zodiac sign is Scorpio, then Death is your card. Death also brings transformations. It brings messages to let go, to release, to put something behind you, just to put something to rest. And so according to what cards are around it, it will tell you what needs to be put to rest. So yeah, that is my interpretation of the Death card. Next up, we have the Temperance card. So the Temperance card is all about balance. This card is, whenever it pops up, it tells you to keep things in moderation. There is a need for constant flow between your consciousness and your unconscious. And there's a message of like, you see how they keep balancing this energy, and then she's balancing the water between those two cups. So the message here is that the water doesn't flow, it stagnates. And water in tarot is all about your emotions. So if your emotions are not flowing, if you're not communicating, if you're not circulating it in a healthy way, expressing it in a healthy way, finding a good outlet for the negative emotions, then emotions start to stagnate. And that's what Temperance comes to say. Temperance also wants to teach that there should always be a mix in your balance of your life, which means success with failure, growth with decay, joy with sorrow, death with rebirth, happiness with the sadness, everything. You get what I'm saying? Temperance wants you to understand that there's two sides. And whenever Temperance comes up, it also asks you to take account feelings rather than just facts. And temperance calls for harmony and patience and calmness and controlling your emotions, and blending and mixing and merging separate things to create something new and something better. So very alchemy, magician type of energy in the temperance card too. But it teaches you that in order for you to become the magician, you got to control your emotions. That's something that is needed for you to master your magic right now. So that is my interpretation of the temperance card. Next up, we have the devil. Now, this is another card that so many people are afraid of, and I don't think anybody should be afraid of this card. This card for me has a meaning that I don't see a lot of people really interpret it this way, but I do get this message from the devil that, you know, it's time for you to step away from everything that society has taught you, to create your own beliefs, to create your own values, to think for yourself. You know, don't be so heavily influenced with TV, movies, society, social media, all of that kind of stuff. The devil also comes to inflame your base desires. Again, like awakens your beliefs and your values and stuff like that. The devil comes to tell you to think for yourself. Accept all aspects of yourself, light and dark. And sometimes the devil also comes because you are repressing something, and you're kind of just so afraid of taboos. Also, if you're a Capricorn, the devil is your card. The devil also comes to speak about unhealthy attachments that you may have. It comes to talk about addictions and a need to really release toxic beliefs and patterns. It's a need for freedom, for independence, for your own space, boundaries. And it's just the devil comes to teach you to reclaim your power and your control. And a lot of times when you're feeling trapped in a situation, the devil comes up to release you from that situation. It comes to give you clarity. It comes to, you know, tell you that in this case, what is needed is for you to come back to your own beliefs and your own thoughts and kind of step away from what society is pushing on you. So yeah, that is my interpretation of the devil card. Another thing I want you to notice here is in a lot of the devil cards, it will be like people are trapped or chained up or tied up or whatever, but it's very easy for them to release themselves. If you can see, the lock is open and they can release themselves from the devil's grip too. It's just a lot of the times, you know, the way that our mind works and the things that we've been conditioned in our mind, you stay trapped because maybe you're afraid of the unknown, or it's so familiar, or insecurities, or, you know, you feel obligated, whatever the case may be. So yeah, that is my interpretation of the devil card. Next up, we have the Tower. Now, this is another very popular, feared card in the tarot. And I don't think that it's a bad message at all. Basically, the Tower comes to tell you that there's divine intervention coming. It's basically when you can't, you know, there's something that you need to be doing and you, for some reason, cannot do it. And it has to be done for your higher good. And so your spirits will step in, your ancestors will step in, and that's why it's called divine intervention. They kind of shake things up and kind of like shake your foundation up and kind of break some things down in your foundation because those things were not working in the first place. They were wobbly, they were not serving you. It wasn't working. The Tower comes because it just feels like you've been shattered and your world has been turned upside down. The Tower comes often to teach you to question something, to question your thoughts, your needs, your ideas. It's sudden divine intervention, and it shatters all of your illusions. It shatters a lot of your beliefs, and it shatters a lot because those things are not doing you any good. And sometimes that's what scares people. But it's a good thing. It comes to break false values and false beliefs and teach you what is right for you and to abandon those things that are not right for you. The Tower is when things turn upside down, but it's in your favor, but you don't see it. You know, it kind of shakes you up, but it's much, much needed because the old ways have to die and old beliefs have to be shattered. And a lot of the times we won't do that. So our guides and our you know, helpers and our spirit guides and ancestors, they will step in. God, deities, whatever you work with, they will step in because sometimes we just can't get ourselves to move forward. So that is my interpretation of the Tower card. The Star card. Every time the Star card pops up, it's such a good energy. It's such a good feeling that I get. But the Star is basically about feeling release. It's renewal. It's renewed energy coming in. It's a rebirth. You feel renewed and replenished, rejuvenated. It's like the ending process of a transformation and just being resurrected. It's just a whole new feeling of hope. It's a very dry, dull, stagnant period ending. It is a wish fulfilled. And if you're an Aquarius, then this is your card. The Star just brings a lot of renewed energy, very, very good, hopeful energy, ancestral energy, guidance, and help from the spirit world. A lot of faith and just very good vibes, very good energy here. So that is kind of what I interpret the Star as. Every time the Star comes up, I feel like it's ancestors speaking. I always get that from every Star card, from every single like deck that I own, tarot deck. It's just such a heavy message of ancestors for me especially. So yeah, that is how I interpret the Star. Next up we have the Moon. The Moon carries such elegant, soft, beautiful, feminine energy, and it has so much to do with your subconscious, your intuition, and what lays beneath the surface of our subconscious. This has a lot to do with our dreams, the dream world, intuition, like I said. A lot of the time when the moon comes up, it's kind of like repressed feelings about something that is surfacing. And you can get clarity by pulling another card or seeing which card came up next to the moon to see what is it that is being repressed and what needs to be worked through. And you know, worked with the subconscious mind to release a lot of these things. The moon also comes up to tell you that there's certain fears and anxieties about whatever situation that you are in that need to be released. The moon asks you to feel rather than think. You know, a lot of the times when the moon comes, it's just asking you to tap back into your emotions, and your fantasies and your imagination and your subconscious. If you are a Pisces, then the moon is your card. The moon also brings clarity. So whenever the moon pops up in a reading, pay attention to the cards that come up next to it, because the moon's going to offer clarity in those areas. You know, the moon also asks you to ask yourself a very important question, which is what is in your subconscious, and is it guiding you and helping you, or is it hurting you and keeping you chained up? So those are a few things that I like to ask, and that's how I interpret the moon whenever it comes up. It's such a card that like when it comes up, you can't really read, because the moon is talking about, you know, the clients or whoever you're reading for, their emotions, their deep emotions, like what is beneath the surface. Oftentimes things that they don't want to speak about or talk about or face, things like that. The moon brings those things up to the surface. So you have to be careful in a reading when the moon comes up about what you say and how you say it, especially if you're reading for someone, because the moon's very sensitive. It's about the sensitive emotions of a person. So yeah, that's how I interpret the moon. Next up, we have the sun. I think this is the luckiest and best card that you could get in the entire deck, because it's a card of manifestation. It's a card of happiness, cheer, fun, warmth, positive energy, optimism. It's a card that tells you that things are getting better. They're gonna get better. It gives light to the cards around it. It brightens up the energy of the cards that are around it. So pay attention to whatever cards come up next to the sun, because it's going to illuminate and grow those things. The sun also means growth. It means success, manifestation, and whatever you put the sun card near, it lights it up. So just always pay attention to what comes next to the sun card, because those things are going to be very abundant in your life. And when the sun card comes up, it's very good energy. It's, just very, very good energy. So this is a very good card. If you ever want to ask a yes or no question and the sun card pops up, it's a very, very good omen of yes, go for it, or yes, the answer is yes. And the sun brings happiness, and you're supported and you're guided, and it's just the spirit world is happy with you, and your physical reality is going to start to make a turn for the better. It's a very good card, very good energy. So yeah, that is the sun card. Next up, we have Judgment. Judgment is a very good card, but it took me a while to really get to know this card. There's so many things that this card brings. It's now become one of my favorites when it pops up in a reading, and here's why. The Judgment card brings spiritual ascension. It raises your vibration. So whenever this card pops up, it tells me that the vibration of this person, or if I'm doing the reading for me, it's going to raise, or it is raising, and that's such a good sign. The Judgment card brings joy and release and renewal. It brings an energy where you get to rejoice about something. Judgment also wants to let you know that your actions are going to produce the appropriate, result, and that could be a reward or a punishment. So, pay attention to your actions. As you sow, you will reap. So pay attention to what you do, what you say. Judgment also brings the final end result of a situation or a matter. So according to the cards that may be around it, it may bring an ending to those matters. What else does this bring? So Judgment also wants to tell you that it's a fire element. Judgment wants you to practice discernment, practice common sense. Judgment wants to always ask you, you're either in or you're out. Don't dibble dabble. Don't keep one foot in, one foot out. Judgment is either yes or no. Make up your mind. It's whenever Judgment comes up, I also get this message that there needs to be a reevaluation happening, whether reevaluation of where you live, reevaluation of your relationship, of your relationship with yourself, whatever it is. It's also a calling to release negative self-talk, negative beliefs. And it's a message that you're rising up. And sometimes when you are rising up, things fall away and you don't understand it. But Judgment wants to tell you, hey, you're rising up, and that's why these things are happening. Because you are going to be able to finally put the past behind you. You're going to put the regrets, the wrongdoings, the sadnesses, the guilt. They're all being released so that you could put it behind you. And a lot of the times we cling on so hard to these things that we don't even give ourselves that release that we need. So another thing that I always like to ask is, what do you need to give final judgment to in your life in order to move forward? That's a huge question I like to ask whenever Judgment pops out. So that is my interpretation of the Judgment card. And the last major arcana card is the World. Now, the World is when you have manifested. It's completion. It's something that has been achieved, and it's a completion of a phase or a stage of life. Usually it could be like a birth or marriage or, something where the final stage of something got completed. A reward, a promotion, something like that. When the World card comes, basically it's telling you that the world is going to be at your feet, or the world is at your feet, and why aren't you embracing it? The world is earth element. So when this card comes up, it's a sign for you to connect more with earth energy. You know, spend more time outdoors, spend more time in your physical reality. If you are actually, the world also has to do with Saturn energy. So, you know, discipline, structure, stability, all of these things. If you would like to attract these things, pull the world card out of your tarot deck and maybe light a black candle in front of it on a Saturday. Just to get all of your discipline and routine and structure, responsibilities, obligations to all go the right way and in your favor and be completed, you know, all that good stuff. Yeah, the world also comes to tell you that a milestone may have been reached or completed. And so that is my interpretation of the world card. That is the last card of the major arcanas. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me comments down below. I read your comments and I try to respond as best that I can. And leave me your interpretations, your meanings, what you think. Tell me your thoughts, and I will talk to you very, very soon.